right, the second movement from Bach's Violin Concerto, the Adagio movement. And no, this is not the solo violin part transcribed for the bass. This is the continuo part, the tutti part, and it's very, very beautiful. It really, really makes the piece very, very exposed. It's very hard to play it in tune. And, well, let me talk about why it's hard. I mean, it's always hard to play in tune on the bass, so that just goes without saying. But in addition to that, this particular key, C-sharp minor, most of the excerpt revolves around C-sharp minor, and it presents some challenges. First of all, when you do a lot of auditions, there are a lot of other excerpts on the list. C-sharp minor doesn't really map well in terms of transitioning from one excerpt to the next. And so whatever excerpt comes before, you have to make sure that you get your head into C-sharp minor mode. Just, just play a few C-sharps, tap them on the bass to make sure that you're indeed conceptualizing C-sharp minor in your head. For example, if the Beethoven trio from the third movement of the Fifth Symphony by Beethoven comes right before, you have to transition from that to C-sharp minor. So make sure that you're able to do that. And that's something that you can practice away from the bass. Another reason that this excerpt is difficult is that most of the excerpt is played in the intermediate positions. That means between second and third position, you have the intermediate position between second and third. That's where you start off. And then you have to play in the intermediate position between third and fourth. And then later, you have to play in the intermediate position between fifth and sixth. These are positions that, for most of us, we'd rather be in second, third, fourth, fifth, or sixth position, or primary thumb position. Or we'd rather be in one of the Rabath positions, because they're all very idiomatic to the bass. When we get into the intermediate positions, it becomes very, very difficult to play in tune. So you've got to go back and practice, go back to that Simandl book and practice those intermediate positions. It will help you on this excerpt so much. Another reason that this excerpt is difficult is that we have these unbalanced bowings. So we have one note on a down bow, three notes on an up bow. So you have to play that one note that's isolated with a very quick, light bow that you just kind of brush really quick, lightly across the string, and then reconnect to the string for the next three notes. So it's something you just have to get used to, and you just practice it over and over again. Something like that. Just make up an exercise for yourself. All right. I know I just talked about the intermediate positions and stuff like that, but if you don't want to bother, and I don't blame you, Mortal Kombat just came out and you want to go play that, so go play it. If you don't want to learn the intermediate positions, get yourself a drone tool. I use Natural Cello Reference Tones drone tool, and put on C sharp, like so. And match all your C sharps. Go through the entire thing. Then change it to G sharp or A flat. And you don't have to use drone tool. There's so many out there. You can get your friend to hit the sustain pedal on the piano and just play these notes for you. And then play the exact same excerpt. Then match all your G sharps. For some reason, the mind, when you use these drone tools, just wants to lock you in to the correctly in tune note. And then finally, after A flat or G sharp, whatever you want to think of, they're the same note. Play an E natural and match all your E's. And this is especially useful at the end when you, at the last three measures. So get yourself a drone something or another. You can even make it yourself. In fact, I may just stick a few drones at the end of this video, so you don't even have to go out and download one. So more time for you to play Mortal Kombat. So, let's see, what else is difficult about this? So, the tempo that they give, 60 to 65, is a good tempo range. I like to just hit somewhere in the middle there, 63, 62, 64, something like that. Just remember that that beats per minute applies to the eighth note and not the quarter note. You don't want to be that person at the audition that goes. That would be embarrassing. Okay, and it's hard too, so let's just keep it easy. Things to watch out for. Vibrato. This is one of those, I know I play with a lot of vibrato on this, and stylistically that probably isn't right. I played for years with the Washington Bach Consort, and if I played with that kind of vibrato on this piece, I'd get fired. However, when you're by yourself, it's okay to use a little bit more vibrato. And if you don't use vibrato, you can also say that that's stylistically correct, and it is. So this is a win-win. If you don't use vibrato, or if you do use vibrato, or you don't have any kind of vibrato that's any good, it's a win-win-win. There's so many different ways to play this, with or without vibrato, that you don't really have to worry about the vibrato aspect. Although, notes that have a lot of tension, if you can stick in a little bit more vibrato, it'll make you sound like you read the Donington book or something like that, or spent a lot of time in England. Okay, the other things you need to watch out for are the dynamics. It does say always piano, always soft, so you can be expressive within limits, but don't get too loud or too soft, okay? Don't be romantic and be overly expressive. And that's something that I'm not joking about. You don't want to be too overly expressive. Listen to a recording, okay? And you'll know what I mean. There's a place that you need to be careful about in terms of intonation. If you can go to measure 4. At the end of measure 4, you have an F sharp, a B sharp, and a C sharp, and a D sharp. Make sure those are in tune. Just really check. Sometimes people want to make the distance between the half steps too much, and then it just kind of throws everything off. And lastly, watch out for the low G sharps, especially the octaves at measure 6, at the end of measure 6. So do a little bit of that so you can get used to resolving the G sharp. If you think about the lower C sharp, it makes it easier to jump to the higher C sharp, at least for me. Okay, I'd like to leave you with a little bit of imagery. Sometimes this really is really pedantic, what I'm talking about. And for some people, they would prefer to just have a hint that would make it easier for them to play more musically. And yeah, sometimes that works once you learn the notes. I like to think of a still pond in the early morning with the, dew on the plants. We get this in the Midwest. It's still hazy. You get a little bit of fog, and you're at the edge of a pond, and you want to make sure that every time you toss a pebble into that pond, it's as little of a ripple as possible, because you want to keep it still and rustic and placid. So think of it that way, a placid lake, and just imagine that, and that you don't want to disturb the very calm lake in the early morning. Again, listen to a recording, you'll know what I mean. Okay. I wish you luck on this excerpt. I find this excerpt to be a joy to play, because it's Bach. And unlike the suites, which we have to play up here, it's down here, but still just as beautiful. You do have to get used to the intermediate positions, but, you know, reviewing a few somantal positions won't hurt you at all. But if you don't want to do that, so you can have more time for playing the new Mortal Kombat, get yourself some kind of drone app and play against the C sharp, play against the G sharp, play against an E, and it'll do wonders for your intonation. Okay, good luck.
Outstanding.